Hello, everybody. We're here for a very special episode because we're talking with some of the artists and creators of Asian Invasion. Woo! It's happening this weekend. That's exciting.
Yes.
So let's see. I don't know. You guys want to just do some introductions while we're here? So here, you know what? Boom. We're gonna go with Otaku. Let's go. Hi, Otaku.
Yeah, hello. I think this is the first time we've kind of been on this format type schedule. I'm just a YouTuber talking about my comic books on YouTube, but I also support the Asian American community in the industry and also in this community. So I know we had Christy and Stephen on briefly with Namanyang and I last week in preparation for promoting the event that's coming up this weekend. But yeah, I'm just here to kind of observe and ask questions and take part in the conversation. So thank you for having me.
Welcome. Thanks for being here. All right, we're just gonna go down the line. And Christy. Hi, Christy.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah. So I'm the originator of the event. I started it in LA. I do a comic called Demon Bitch. It's about a low-level demon from the 13th pit of hell where people throw their dog shit and gum wrappers. And she wants to make the second coming of Armageddon, but the first one never happened because she's a dumbass. So that's my comic. And what I did is I started Asian Invasion in Los Angeles at the Comic Bug down in Los Angeles, being redundant here. And I thought, I think I just want to do it after COVID because I'm on the West Coast and they shut it down. And we're like, okay, this sucks. Let's just go and try to just put something in there. So we made a little event and we had a what is it? I can't talk today, but it was one of those events and it kind of grew. And then Philip Jin, one of my mutual friends over at Northern California, where I'm originally from, he said, you got to bring this up here. So what ended up happening is that now Philip goes and scouts for people that he knows up in the Bay Area and we get a venue together and we do the NorCal version later on. So it's kind of cool. So we're going to be at King Kong Comics this upcoming weekend in Dublin, California, and the address is in there.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm very excited about that. And we have Dave. Hi, Dave.
Hi, how's it going? My name is Dave. I'm a comic book illustrator. I do a handful of books. Currently, I'm working on Space Auditorium and another book called California Inc. I was at the first Asian Invasion NorCal, which was at the Maid, which was a museum of video games, which was a pretty cool event. And so it was fun. Met a lot of people and had a good time. And so I'm at this new one, which is going to be at King Kong Comics, which is a great comic shop. Me, Philip, and Steven, actually, we painted a mural in there just like a month or two ago. So it'll be kind of cool to have the show right in front of the mural we painted.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that. Very cool. And we're going to go and Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm a fantasy watercolor artist. I have done a couple of tarot and oracle decks. The Shadowscape Tarot is my big project, and the more recent one I just completed. It's called the Verdance Tarot. I also do a lot of art books that combine a lot of mythology with endangered species from around the world. So that's kind of my other big project that I've been working on lately. And just fantasy artwork.
Cool.
That sounds super cool. I like that. Let's see. We're gonna say hey to the chat real quick. I see that Steven actually popped out, so he'll probably be back in here. Let's see. We got GT Comics. What's up, GT? How are you guys doing? All the way from New Mexico, we got Las Cruces. What's up, Las Cruces? Yeah.
What's up, buddy?
And some people are just popping in here. So right now we're talking to the creator and some of the artists that are going to be at this weekend over at King Kong Comics in California for Asian Invasion. Woo! What? Lots of the homies, and there's yourself. Hi.
Yes, hi to myself.
All right.
I don't talk to myself that much.
So I can't drop the comment that we were posting a minute ago into YouTube because it won't let me. So I'm gonna have to reword that and try putting that back in there. What's up, Michael? How are you doing? GSS, AKS, What's what? Chaos. And then we got Connie. Hello. Hello, everybody. What's going on?
Hi.
Thank you for coming in here. Let's see. Thank you very much for coming in here. Ooh, you're stopping by to Perch for TwitchCon? I have never been to TwitchCon, but I have a lot of friends that go to that. That sounds like it would be fun sometime. What's up?
Yeah,
Pat?
like I think some of my roommates are actually going to TwitchCon too, so it's like yay.
Oh, cool. Yeah, there's it's interesting to see how the art scene has gotten bigger and bigger on there over the years, which is very cool because I started on there on Justin TV a long time ago, which is good times. Ooh, you're cutting some stickers. Nice. And welcome back, Steven. Hold on. We're gonna make this big because you popped out of here and we were just doing introductions. So it's your turn. Hi, Steven.
Hi. Sorry.
Hi.
Pain in the ass. So introductions. I am a comic book illustrator. I was formerly a storyboard artist working on the commercial ads. And then my dad passed away in 2018, and then COVID happened. So it was like one after another. And I was like, I gotta rethink what I'm doing. And so I started to push away all the other stuff in my life and really focus on self-publishing my own comics. And the comic that is true and dear to my heart right now is Joan. It's a Joan of Arc as a medieval martial arts Western. And that's been my 7-year-long project right now. So we're looking forward to another like 2 years before I finish the story arc. So, and actually Dave worked on a little mini comic for me, and I'll release that in the next book coming up. So,
oh, that's fun. It's gonna be
That is
exciting.
cool. Yeah, I'm excited about that.
All right. Done with introductions. Boom. We're back down with introductions. Was Nam supposed to be joining us, or he was just not able to come? Do you know?
You know, he's. I think he is just taking it easy these days because of his health. So if he hops on, he hops on. But I don't think he was planning to hop on tonight.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, we'll give him a break. He needs to recover. We need our wormy for letting him.
Sometimes the anger is not enough to power you.
Sometimes not. Yeah.
Yeah.
He hasn't been hanging around CJ enough, so he needs to go start doing that to get his resistance level back up there again. I know. It's terrible. Nice. So yeah, you're me there the 21st and 22nd, which is awesome. That's fun.
Yeah.
Did you always wanted to be a 2-day weekend, or would you ever expand to 3 days, like the whole weekend?
Oh man, I don't know. It's kind of funny because it's like when I did it, it's kind of like I did it as a whim. And I guess that's how a lot of good things start. I don't know, because you don't overthink how great it's going to be or how much it's going to suck. And I'm not saying that. I've noticed when you talk to a lot of artists or anybody that does that stuff on the whim, it's like, oh, I just did it and it was amazing. And somehow that works out. We kept kind of doing it because it was just something to do at the time, because on the West Coast, as I said, it's more stricter with COVID at the time than it was anywhere else. So I had friends that were going to go to Emerald City and Rose City Comic Con, and it just kept getting slammed down. And it was just like, okay, well, this sucks. So I just hated seeing everybody depressed. So I just went ahead and did it. And I just wanted to be a jerk and did Asian Invasion because I'm kind of an asshole that way. And I just did it just to do it. I like tweaking noses, I guess. I mean, I do Demon Bitch. So there you go. And it just turned into a thing. Like people really caught on to it. And it was like, I guess it was like one of the rare subversive things of amongst all the Oban festivals, the Dragon Boat festivals, fireworks and shit. And I'm like, I'm not saying that you can't appreciate that or have it in your life. But I'm like, I think also in the Asian American community, we also are just like going like, we're individuals as people too. Like we're like, how many of us have fucking stories about like us telling our parents, like, I'm a person too. I don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer or have all this shit or get a 1600 on an SAT or whatever the hell. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't have those things, but it's getting to a point. It got to a point like, I don't want to be those things. I want to be successful doing what I want to do, at least in my generation. So it's like, I just kind of like, I don't know what it is. I think it's like, I guess I love punk. So there you go. So I just did Asian Invasion as a joke. And LA, we kind of added yellow peril because I was like making fun of the Hearst thing with the yellow kid and everything when they did all like I think it was the Mann Act and everything where, you know, they limited the number of Asians and other acts that limited them to actually owning land in California, at least. I'm sure in the United States, but I remember California. And I just decided to play off on that. And like there was this stuff with COVID, all that. And I was just like, and then we had Stop Asian Hatred. So it was just me going like, yeah, fuck you all. I'm just going to do Asian invasion. I own this, like that, right?
Yeah.
So we did that. And then Philip really got into it. And he says, come on, we got to do this. We got it. Like everybody was like really into it. I'm like, holy shit. So essentially, like since Philip lived up north, he said, we got to bring this up. So he was like getting that orchestrated up north, which actually helped me because since I'm in LA driving, if anybody isn't from California to at least get from LA to San Francisco is 5 to 6 hours. We're a very long and big state. So it would save me the time to actually, and he would know a lot of the artists more. And actually the diaspora of Northern California is that they don't have as many cons anymore. WonderCon moved more down. Maybe Cape and Cal, I think, had their own con, which was really successful. They had Silicon, but that went away. Now they had Galaxy Con, and I heard that was pretty good. But, you know, it wasn't like how it used to be like 10, 20, like 20, 30 years ago. So Philip was like, get it up here, get it up here. So he did it. And here he is, the man himself.
What's
There
up,
he is.
Philip?
Hi.
Hey,
Welcome
how's
to
it
the
going?
chat.
Hey.
Pretty good.
Hey, Phil, did you get my text?
Oh, shit.
Yes,
You didn't get all. Did you get all 3 of them? Did you get all 13 of them?
yes.
Okay. Just
And then
wanted to check.
And then I got sick of you and I deleted them all.
That's typical.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love this vibe. Okay, so kind of bouncing off what Chrissy said, we're first going to have Philip introduce himself to our our audience. So yeah, go ahead, Philip. Why don't you give us a little bit of background on what you do?
Hi, I'm Philip. I'm not an alcoholic yet.
Hi, Philip.
Hi. I'm an artist and I'm a writer. I don't know what else you want to know. I hate introducing myself. So,
Well, we're gonna get a little deeper into your backgrounds because I guess what I'm really curious about is, and it's kind of playing off what Christy was just saying. You know, we're such a diverse community. This being lumped together as Asian Americans, you know, it's a quite a diverse group in terms of, you know, where people come from, their immigration histories, the various languages within our community. But I want to get a sense from all of you, you know, when you tell your parents, you know, I don't want to be something they have expectations for, and you decide you want to do something like getting into comic book art or writing or getting into a creative field, there tend to be different levels of support or acceptance. So I just want to go through our panel and have you talk about what your personal experience was in terms of your family support for your career, and anybody can chime in if they have an interesting story.
I have an interesting story today.
All right. All right. You can go first. I'm going to mute myself so I can start pasting some links.
Oh God. So this is what my mom did. And my mom and I, we have a cool relationship now, but you know, like when you're growing up and you have a tiger mom, that kind of is a thing. I mean, it made me a stronger person, but this morning I knew I had something of a good character going on, because she said to me, Christy, you know that new character that you have? Why don't you draw something pretty like Hello Kitty? That's so ugly. I'm like, I guess that works now. So it's like, this is the second time I've been asked by her with a different character to go and fucking like just draw like Hello Kitty again. So I guess it's good because like when I first did Demon Bitch, she said, you should draw Hello Kitty. I'm like, why? I don't want to.
It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, it was the best. And what's even better is that it was like this like disgusting thing called the human booger, which represents like drug addicts that are abusive and shitty and all that. So I've been drawing that incessantly, and it's like, oh man, it's just like, it's just funny because it grossed up my mom enough that she just couldn't deal with it. She was really upset.
I'd love to see your interpretation of Hello Kitty.
I would also love that. I would also love that. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Christy drew Hello Kitty getting stabbed.
Yeah, I did that
Yeah,
once for an art
probably.
piece.
I wouldn't be surprised by that.
It sounds like
Oh yeah, it
something
was
that you would
Demon
do.
Bitch stabbing the shit out of Hello Kitty. It was the greatest thing in the world.
Nice.
Didn't you post that somewhere? I think that you did.
I posted it on Instagram. It was a long time ago, and it was actually at the Hive, the art gallery and studios. I'm a resident artist there, and oh, thank you, Tate. But yeah, it's like I did that, and it was just Hello Kitty shit. Because as I said, I don't really have an issue with Hello Kitty. Like I actually like Kuromi, but that's because she's an evil demon that steals dreams.
Kuromi's my favorite.
Yeah,
I'm
Kuromi's great.
so
It's like
happy
she's
to
evil
see.
minority.
Yeah, and I'm so happy to see that they're actually bringing more of the other characters out now. They're getting more popular. So it was like for decades you couldn't even find merch of the other ones. I actually went to like the Sanrio store, and even then it was like random weird stuff. But
Like some of them they retired. They put them on an island somewhere.
I
And then there's
know,
the
so
weird
sad.
part of Sanrio. Yeah, it's called San X. So like they had
Aw.
like the weird fucking sushi cats and stuff. Forgot what they were called, but yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, I mean my mom, it happened this morning. She says, "You know that new character? Oh, if you know that new character, like it's like that new character. It's like so ugly. Why can't you draw anything cute like Hello Kitty? You would make a lot of money." I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
What was she always supportive from the get go though? When you were kind of starting out, was she supportive of your career path, or did it take some time?
Well, it's like this. I probably like grew up not doing anything of what people wanted me to do. And it was funny because I think my mom and my dad thought my artwork was really great, but I should be the straight A student, which I should have gone and like done. I mean, I wasn't a crappy student. I mean, I'd actually had priorities and stuff. I did study and all that, but they wanted me to like do doctor or lawyer, all that other stuff. And the problem is that when my mom took me when I was little to Stanford, I think she kind of fucked up there because then I saw, and she encouraged me reading. I was like that fucking Pizza Hut kid, where they would give you the deep dish pizza personal if you read a lot. So
Yeah.
goddamn, I ate a lot of pizza. But she basically would take me there. And she basically said, "Oh, look, Christy, it's Stanford. Don't you want to go here?" Like kind of putting into my young brain, this is where I should be. And I'm like, okay. And I said, "Oh, Mom, there's the books. Can I look at the books?" Right? She said, "Oh, okay." And I went straight to the underground comics. That was probably where she fucked up because that's when I got into Matt Groening, like Life in Hell. And if you guys aren't familiar with Life in Hell, he also did The Simpsons.
Yeah,
So that was pre-Simpsons, and I would read I read the shit
that's
out
a
of so many
hilarious book. Yeah, by the way, yeah, it's hilarious.
Oh yeah. I read so much underground comics. I think it warped my fucking brain. So I don't think I ever wanted to do anything practical from then on. Like I tried to, it just never worked out. So I'm like, okay, I guess underground comics it is. So I just draw and write Demon Bitch, and it's awful.
It's fantastic. What are you talking about? It's glorious.
Oh, yeah.
Look, those posts make my day. Seriously, I
Oh.
find them adorable.
Sometimes I'm like Johnny Ryan. He does Prison Pit, and he's published with Fantagraphics, and he writes and draws the worst shit sometimes ever. And I mean that as a compliment because it's fucked up. But like there are times I draw a comic and I'm like, wow, I don't know if I should do this. And then I put it out there and it turns out I should have anyway, like he would say. But anyway, yeah, so I mean, that's just what I did. And it's kind of like they were okay with it, but I think they wanted me to like go to something like Juilliard or like Art Center or something really famous, become a really famous artist that way. Like they had a certain plan to do it, but they're math and science people and finance people. So, that's kind of a different thing.
Right.
And I'm not saying you can't be an artist and do those things, but I really advocate like in art schools, they should teach you business and contract law. That's very important now since artists can kind of do their own thing. And a lot of them are. But I got to a point where I was like, they kind of thought it had to be a certain way for it to be successful. And that's not how it was. I mean, as anybody would tell you, we're all seasoned artists here. There's more than one way to quote unquote skin a cat. You just go and you you don't have to go through Marvel and DC. You can. And if you do, or Image or any of that, you're welcome to do that. If you build your shit through Kickstarter and TikTok, you can do that too. It's like there's so many ways to do that. Sometimes people have practical jobs, sometimes people don't. Sometimes people switch in between. And it's really sad when I go to a panel and people say, I don't consider myself a creator because I don't do this 24/7. I said, I never want to hear that shit from you guys ever again. I'll like even say that at a panel whenever I can. I don't want to ever hear that shit from you guys ever again, because to be really frank, it doesn't matter. As long as you're doing it and you're doing it consistently, you are that creator. So stop it. So it just pisses me off when people just talk themselves down about that.
Yeah. Anybody else have a similar or dissimilar experience with their career and their family?
So I knew I wanted to do art right from the beginning. I always knew it, but everyone around me did their best to pound it out of me. They told me from the earliest that I can remember, don't be an artist, you'll starve. And so I believed it. I internalized that. I went through high school. I thought, I really want to do art, but everyone keeps telling me that it's a dead end path. So I've got to do something else. So I decided that I would do software. I went into computer science. And actually in high school, the career advisor at high school told me the same thing. She had us do the personality test, the INTP, EFTJ, whatever those things. Mine, of course, came out, I should be an artist. And when we each had our little 15-minute discussion with the career advisor, she looked at mine and she shook her head. She said, yeah, you should rethink that. You should try something else.
That's horrible.
They said that?
They said that to me.
Wow.
And this was reiterated by counselors in college as well, because even then I didn't completely let go. I still wanted it so badly that I kept trying to find a way to do it. So I went to computer science in college, and I did art as well. And I tried to find some way to combine the two, because I thought maybe if I could just smush these two things together, there could be a path forward with this. And the computer science advisor looked at me like I was insane. She says, why are you going to waste time with art? That's just garbage. There's like nothing there for you with that. And the art advisor, they are stuck in the 60s at this school. With abstract
like
expressionism.
Podunk school, Berkeley, right? Pretty podunk.
Yes. So they were really kind of fixated on abstract expressionism, and they also had no space in their brains to ever combine or even to do anything that was representational.
Yeah.
So I left there, and I worked for 3 years in software before I said, forget this. I just got to go for the art. And it turned out the software actually was a great background for that, because it gave me a leg up in setting up my online store, setting up a way to get my art in front of people, and to start building business. And especially we're talking about the early 2000s, late 90s. So there wasn't anything like eBay or Etsy or any of these tools that artists can use now to create their own websites and their storefronts. And so being able to code that stuff from scratch myself turned out to be the best blessing.
Yeah.
And it gave me a space on the internet and a voice when most artists barely knew what the internet was.
Okay, so this is a while back. I mean,
it was a while back.
Yeah.
So I was meeting with some success with that, and so I finally one day decided, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit the job. I'm going to tell my parents. They were not happy, to put it lightly.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think I have an idea how that went.
They were a step away. They didn't actually go that far, but they were practically going to disown me for this. They were not pleased with me dropping software. They said, why are you burning your bridges? Why are you doing this stupid thing? And I said, I'm not burning bridges. I've been kind of carefully planning this, and I have an idea of what I'm doing, and I could even go back. So I went with it, and I have never looked back.
Wonderful.
When I left the software job, I actually told them that I was going to take an extended leave of absence, and they believed me on that.
Are you still on an extended leave of absence?
Yeah. 20 years later, I'm on that leave still.
So when are you coming back to work? Yeah, probably another year.
Can I get that
Is
pension now?
that company still around?
They have been absorbed many times over by larger companies over the years.
Okay.
Era. And it actually turned out to be a great move in many ways, because I left that company in the year 2000. And I don't know if you remember, but the .com bust happened in 2001. So shortly after that, basically everyone I knew was unemployed except for me.
Ooh,
Oh,
Yeah.
ouch.
Smart. Oh, yeah. In hindsight, yeah, that was a very smart move. Yeah.
You probably want to talk to Dave next, because he's the next one.
Dave. Oh,
Dave,
we
all
put
right,
you on the
Dave's got-
spot. There you go.
No, I actually didn't have any problems at all because Steph paved the way. They're like, oh, wow, you can make money with art. Dave, why didn't you do that a long time ago?
I love when parents do that too. Like they say, you say, "Hey, I want to do this thing." No, that's stupid. Why are you doing that? And then later on, like their families, friends, whatever, did the same exact thing, and they said, "Well, how come you're not being like that?" And you're like,
Well, honestly, Dave and
so
I thought
true.
that they were going to blow up again at him, and we had some strategic, tactical talks ahead of his announcement to talk over how he was going to break it to him.
My coming out that I was going to be an artist.
How long
And then
have you known?
I can
Well, I was at
imagine
a
that.
party, and then there was a friend,
Yeah.
and he said, "Do you want to hold this paintbrush?" I was like, "Oh my god!" And your parents were like, "How could you?"
And then how pissed off was Stephanie when you didn't get the same kind of flack that she did?
That's
Yeah,
a good question.
She definitely. I remember when she told them, and it was they were really upset about it. Like, but Steph already had figured out in her head from day one, so she made it really something that was a lot easier for me to tell them. But I did what everyone told me, and I went into, I had a business job for a while. Actually, I remember, it's funny, in college, Steph's advisor told her not to. I remember telling my advisor that I wanted to draw comics, but I was afraid it wouldn't make very much money. And so that's why I was probably going to go into business instead. And they were like, you should do comics. Business will be here when try comics. It'll be here if you decide you don't want to. But I didn't listen to her. I just like went into the business world for a while, and that it's interesting because it was different in the sense that, like, I instead of doing what I felt I really wanted to do, I just kind of went with what everyone else was saying was the safer way, and in my head, I always thought, like, oh, you can either do what you love and not make very much money, or do a job that you don't like and make a ton of money. And it was kind of like, it was always just kind of in between. I was like, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it, and I didn't make that much money either. So I was like, what am I doing here? And yeah, Steph actually, was big, and she's always kind of encouraged me to do art. And I think I was real nervous about it for a while, just like her, in my head, it just seemed like something that you can't really make a ton of money on, even though here she is doing it. But me and her have a really different aesthetic, I think. And so, like, even though she had this business model that worked really well for her, I couldn't see it working for me. And it's funny, Christy, you were talking about how your mom was asking you to do something more cute. My mom would always say, like, Dave, why don't you do something like nicer looking, like what your sister does? Her like, why are you making these ugly characters and these strange faces?
Well, the thing is that, like, I think with Dave, with you and your sister, it's like, it's interesting because, like, coming from being an Asian woman, and I'm not trashing anybody that draws beautiful things. I mean, if you want to draw and that's a thing that you do, that's a thing that you do. I don't know why, but like whenever I drew pretty shit, nobody cared. So they say, "Oh, that's nice." It's like, but nothing would come of it. But when I started drawing, like, I didn't give a shit about anything. It was like, "Oh, what's this?" And then they discovered the pretty shit. And it's like, "Wow, you can actually draw." I said, "Yeah, motherfucker, I've been doing it for X amount of years." But it's just funny because it's like, I guess, like, on a certain level, like with a lot of Asian girls, it's like, at least with, and I'm not trying to be like, if you draw pretty things, I'm not saying that. It's just like, I think there's this pressure, at least from me, like when I got it, it was like, oh, you draw, you're an artist, so you're supposed to draw this type of thing. And I'm like, I don't really do that. Come on, guys. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't draw well or you shouldn't, but it's just like, it got kind of like, it was sort of like when I was coming up, they were like, okay, you draw like fairies and shit and like Hello Kitty type stuff and really cute, adorable things. And I'm like, I don't really like doing those things. Can I not do them? You know? But it's interesting because I got that other level because I kind of refused to draw pretty stuff after a while because I got annoyed because it was like I couldn't enjoy it. That's the thing. I didn't have fun with it. And again, it's not knocking anybody that does do that. And it's just I got this other level pressure. So I don't know if it was just me, you know.
I mean, I like drawing pretty things, but the funny thing is that whenever my mother said to me, "That's pretty," my hackles would rise because I was like, I don't want it to be just pretty. I don't like if she thinks it's pretty, then it's too safe.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think
I wasn't doing what Dave was doing. I wasn't doing the small time drug peddler, but I didn't want to be just pretty either. Like that was irritating to me.
I mean, I get what you're talking about too, because like, I mean, it's like my mom saying, I think I kind of got that on that level. My mom was like going, oh, you should draw Hello Kitty. You'd make a lot of money. It's like, I don't want to fucking draw Hello Kitty. I don't care. I mean, I like Hello Kitty. I don't hate Hello Kitty. I have nothing against anything cute. It's just, that's not what I do.
Hello Kitty, Christy.
One of my friends told me about like what I should do for the new cover because I'm coming out with an omnibus sometime next year. I'm going to raise it with a Kickstarter. But probably she just said do something with the skin of Hello Kitty. I'm like, oh fuck. So
kind of got to do that.
Kind of messed up.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah. So it's like, yeah.
All right. Well, Stephen, Philip, any either of you want to chime in on that? I guess the coming out story.
Yeah, I mean,
You want to come out first, Stephen?
yeah, I'll come out first.
All right.
I'll come out first. So Phil and I are engaged. No, anyway. No, but I actually pretty similar to you guys. I mean, my dad, Taiwanese dad, was like very old school, and I grew up with a long line of entrepreneurs. You know, they were always starting their own business and stuff, and my dad was always trying to usher me into it. And in college, I did graphic design for like two or three semesters, and I remember one day we had the talk, and he goes, "What are you studying now?" And I was like, "Graphic design." And then he goes, "Well, you can't do anything with that." And I was like, "Oh." And there was always this like, you should be doing something else. And so I don't know what happened, but I went to economics for like 4 years, and then like when I came out of school with that degree, like to this day, it feels like a giant like blur. I was like, how did I do that? And then it was painful because I remember the business building closed down. It was renovating. So the business department was in the art building. So while I'm sitting here learning supply and demand, right across from me was like this drawing class that I took like the first semester, and it would switch out. It was like, you know, the drawing class was in there, then it was the sculpting class, then it was the painting class, and I'm literally just sitting there like, you know, like this is like painful. And you know, I was thinking recently, why is it? Because my wife says I have this problem with listening to her, and I was like, and then she added on that you have a problem listening to anybody, period. And I was like, I think what it is I spent 40 something years of my life listening to my father, and I love my father, and you know, rest in peace. But one of the problems is that he was an artist. I found out at a very earlier time in his life. And he told me that, and I'll never forget the story. He was like 9 years old and he painted this horse, and he was really happy about it. And he came home and his mom said, "So what?" And my great grandmother, his grandma, loved that painting so much. She went around the neighborhood in Taiwan, like praising his work. And it was from that day on at 9, my dad goes, "I'll never do art again, no matter who praises me or whatever." And I remember hearing that story, and I go, I don't ever want that, because someone told me something, and I shouldn't do that. And that's why I have this like weird. Like anytime someone tells me not to do something, I go ahead and I actually go and do it. And it doesn't always play out in the right ways. But artistically, though, that's kind of just like where I like came from. Was just like having been told what to do, and the majority of my career is absolutely strange. I mean, I graduated in economics, freaking went into business as well. I was just doing everything possible to not be an artist when I would come home at the end of the day, I would just draw and paint. And it was just at some point, you're like, if you're doing this all the time, you just can't run away from it. And it was, I think, when my dad passed away, I remember the last day I talked to him, he said, he goes, and I remember he was really weak on the phone, and it's big regrets. I didn't talk to him in person, but I remember he told me, he said, hey, you got to take care of yourself. And it was a dot, dot, dot. And he said, just be as creative as you can. And I remember that last phone call. I was like, all right, well, fuck it. Fuck everyone. Fuck everything. I'm going after it. And problem is, then I went to storyboarding, and that's not really what I wanted to do. But luckily, because of that little experience, like not doing what I really want to do, it like pushed me to go towards making comics. So yeah, that's my little story.
Great.
That's awesome.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. You ready?
So it's my turn.
It's your turn.
My experience growing up with art isn't quite as harrowing because other than wanting to be a spy, a policeman, a secret agent, which I guess is also a spy, I also wanted to be a composer genius like Mozart, and I wanted to be a comic strip artist like Charles Schultz, because I fell in love with comic strips. And so I grew up thinking I was going to be a comic strip artist, and my mom knew somebody that drew comic strips for, one of those local small time newspapers, I think it was, and she said that she could help me. And this woman told my mom, if he draws 100 comic strips, then I'll look at them and help him. So I spent like the next however many months trying to draw 100 comic strips in my sketchbook, obviously not to scale, but that's what I wanted to do until I discovered comic books and thought that I would draw comic books. I wanted to be the youngest comic book creator ever to get a job at Marvel or DC because I had not heard of Jim Shooter at the time. And in high school, it was all nice. You think you're going to draw comic books, but then you start getting closer to college apps. And so my parents were kind of in between. I didn't have a tiger mom, and I didn't have a dad who was against it. They were actually pretty supportive of my creative endeavors, and they encouraged me to do it. But they both came at it from a fairly pragmatic point of view, which in and of itself could be kind of an obstacle, because when you want to do something as excuse me, when you want to do something as creative, like really creative as a lifestyle and for a living, it's extremely competitive. So coming at it from a pragmatic point of view can be an obstacle, because when you do something that's highly competitive, you should really go all out for it. But wanted to make my parents happy, so I went to college, and I wasn't a dummy. I knew that if I wanted to move out, I'd have to pay rent, so I'd have to get a job, and if I wanted to make more money, I'd have to climb whatever ladder I was in. So my mom's line was, I hope you get what you want, but in the meantime, you should go to school because you need a backup. Funnily enough, they did offer to send me to the Art Academy in San Francisco, and I turned it down for two reasons. One, I didn't want to make my parents pay for art school because art school is expensive. And two, I was not ready to live in San Francisco. Because at the time, unlike now, San Francisco was hustling and bustling and not a place I wanted to be. But I don't discount any of that because I grew up in the workforce. I learned skills that are extremely useful to me. And I also did not give up any creative endeavors. I was also a musician, so I taught drumline for over 18 years. I composed and arranged music and sold them online, and have had music played in Beijing, China I've learned a lot about business and stuff like that through all of these creative endeavors. And when life throws shit at you and you have to flush it down the toilet and then get a new toilet because it's clogged and stuff. This is a horrible analogy. You start your life over, you get a new toilet, and
okay, your point. Analogies. Keep going.
I started my life over, and art became a huge focus. And I'm kind of glad that I never went to art school. I'm glad that I learned how to run a small business through teaching and selling music. I'm glad that I had jobs that taught me customer service and technical skills and graphic design skills. And I'm glad I learned how to freelance, because when I started doing conventions for the first time in late 2016, all that became really handy. And I also decided years before that I was trying so hard. I shouldn't say so hard. I was trying to shop my portfolio like every young kid who wants to draw comics to editors at Marvel and DC, and it didn't happen. And at some point, Image became a thing, and there was the indie comic boom, the self-publishing boom with Bone and Strangers of Paradise and Cerebus, and these guys were rising stars, and they were entities unto themselves. So I realized that I did not care if I ever drew Spider-Man for a living. I'm not going to turn down that job, but what I'd much rather do is write my own stuff, draw my own stuff. And when I came back to drawing after pretty much a 6-year break, I decided that for money, I would do illustration, and then on my own time, I would draw comics. But that didn't quite work out to plan either, because once I started comic book conventions to sell artwork, guess what happened? I started drawing comics again for money. So I just I've learned to really kind of go with it. All of my experiences, just like everyone's experiences, culminate into the thing that you do at any given moment, and all of it is useful, even the bad shit. So that's my collective experience.
Can I say something about that?
And he wants to be the next airbender. Sorry.
I'm already an airbender.
You need to show why. You need to commit and have a head tattoo. Anyway, sorry.
Everyone has that.
I was going to say that I feel like as artists, like one of the awesome parts about it is that we can be inspired by everything around us. And so all these other experiences just add to that spark that we already like, that need, that desire to make art is already there, and everything else just kind of enriches it and adds to that experience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was thinking it's funny because I think you should kind of fall into what you naturally do as an artist too. Like for me, even when I got into comics, I really didn't like the standard comic, like I would say, for Marvel and DC and all that other stuff, I just didn't feel like doing that level of artwork or that type of artwork. And for me, it was like, since I was like influenced by a lot of the Korean manhwa with the hydrocephalic aspect of it, before it got all pretty, I just got to a point where I was just like, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. And I had this thing where everybody was telling me, don't do it, like draw nice things. Why you should let go of your anger and all this other shit. And for some reason, now it's like the biggest things that I would get criticized for are like the biggest strengths that I have on my comic. It's like, that's what makes it stick out. And it makes people really resonate with it. And I don't know why. I guess like if somebody tells me no, I'm like, yeah, well, fuck you. I'm going to do it anyway. And somehow that works. I guess it's like the road less traveled and less competition and all this other stuff. So maybe I'm a trailblazer. I have no idea.
I think it works because you resonate with it. And that's the thing that I've learned over the years is that if you try to please people, if you try to do what you think people want to see, it's going to be mediocre, because that's not what is singing inside of us, right? That's not for you. You don't want to do pretty. For me, I do want to do pretty, but it's a thing that I resonate with and that you resonate with. And if you connect with it, yourself, then someone out there is going to connect with what they see that comes out on your paper. And you can't get that if you're faking it. You can't get that connection if you try to push something that isn't your voice, if you try to push into a space that is not you, but that makes money. You know, it's going to feel empty, and you're not going to hit that resonance with your audience. And that's what I've learned over the years, is that the things that I often take the most risk with, where I reveal the most about what is important to me, are the projects that meet with the most success.
Yeah. I think also it's weird because it's like, so there's like, obviously, so my ethnicity is Korean. And it's interesting because when I got to know other Korean women artists, they have a same level of rage in their work that I do. Like, I think one of the more famous people is Lila Lee. She does Angry Little Girls. And even though they're like kind of quote unquote simplistic, like line drawings and all that, they have a lot of anger. Like she and I, we've had conversations before about this stuff. Also Helen Jo, like her stuff is really pretty, but it has this razor edge to it. Like there's this one picture, I've always wanted to get a print of it, but I haven't been able to get it. But it's this woman crying and she's like punching a fucking glass jar into the ground. Her hands are all bleeding and shit. There's like another one, like two girls got into a fight and they're like looking in the mirror and one's like it's like almost like if they're checking their makeup, but one's like this and one's missing a tooth and she's just bleeding from her mouth. It's like, what the fuck is this? And then you have Korea Angry, where she does the puppets or the maquettes. She and I collaborated on a demon bitch before. So if you see a little demon bitch statue that I carry with me, that's her. She made it for me, and she actually gave it to me after our project was over. So she's really sweet. But she does like these like maquette things, and it's like, I don't know what it is, if it's the diaspora I come from, but it's like Korean women have tapped into this deep level of rage in everything. Like I've been told by somebody else, they just said that wasn't Korean, said, you know, if people really got to meet you, you're really nice, but you draw really evil art. I'm like, what? I don't know where that comes from, but I mean, the thing is that sometimes it is kind of good to hear from a third person point of view because you're busy doing it. Like it's very rare that like I draw that and I go like, oh shit, I don't know. But most of the time I just draw it and I think it's funny, but sometimes I like to hear from some people what they get from it. And oh my God, some people are like, what the fuck did you draw? You know, and I said, what? You know, but it's like that level of rage that seethes in there. So it's kind of interesting knowing other Korean American women artists, and they put that, and you can see that element from that, because like I guess the thing is, like even Korea Angry, she's by that title Korea Angry, but like when you meet any of these women, they're really just cool people, but it's like there's that level of rage inside that you're like, holy fuck, you know.
I want to kind of tap into what you just said with the panel. Art is such a personal thing, and like Stephanie was mentioning, your experiences, whatever challenges you go through, or whatever successes you have, that kind of plays a role in how you create and what is ultimately represented. How much of your Asian identity do you think is obviously it's you're, as an Asian American, it's there, but you know, do you make a connection that this is what separates me from maybe, you know, the other mainstream or American artists, like this is what makes my work kind of unique? And if there's something uniquely Asian about it, what would that be? What would that quality be? I know Christy, you mentioned the rage, but is there anything else?
Well, I think it's just like, for me, it's me being my own person. Like, I mean, we all as Asian Americans on this panel can like be expected by our parents to fit in a certain mold and box. We've all admitted to that. We've all like, you know, fit into it. We've all been kind of been forced into it more or less on some level. And I think it's just that here we are, we're going like, okay, we're Asian Americans, that's fine. And we're different ethnicities and they have their differences. And I'm just going to speak from mine because that's what I know. So it's like, oh yeah, I'm Korean American, but I don't want to be all the other Korean American kids. I mean, they're nice enough and all that, but it's like, this is not what I want to do. I don't relate to them on that level. I want to do my own thing. So I definitely just do my own thing. And it's interesting because how we're programmed to be part of the crowd is so ingrained. And I'm not trying to say if you're part of society, you're horrible. It's no, there you want to be a part of something. I think all of us do. And me included, like you want to go and have your companionship, you want to have your friends, it's not like I don't think anybody is ever, I've been told nobody is ever an island. We're more like a reef system. We have different ecosystems. But it's just like with me, at least for me, it's like what I wanted to really do. People were always resistant to that. And it wasn't like I involved people in my bullshit. It wasn't that type of level. It was just, I want to do this. Oh, no, you can't, blah, blah, blah. And then when I didn't think about it and just did it, then I realized how bullshit that was on my level. But, I got my share of shit for it because it's like, how dare you, no, you're not going to succeed. And I think for me, I had to just kind of learn how to ignore it or disregard it because even as well-meaning as it could have been, I mean, at least I gave myself this type of set of parameters. I'm not smoking crack. I'm not prostituting myself. I'm not doing dumb shit just for the sake of doing dumb shit. I just want to do my own thing. All right, we're good. And so it's like, as long as I didn't do those stupid things, and I just kind of used my own personal judgment, that was fine. I just really wanted to do that. Although, sometimes people, when they get pushed in that corner, they will go like, oh, fuck mom and dad. I'm going to go do a bunch of drugs or sleep with a bunch of people I don't really like or some shit. So, but I mean, I never saw the greatness of that because I would see the consequences of what people, I'm like, this is stupid. I don't want to do that. I just want to do this. All I want to do is draw fucked up shit. What's wrong with that? And
Yeah.
I don't know. That worked for me. And again, I'm not saying it won't work for anybody else, but for me, I just got a lot of shit for it. And I just was like, okay, well, and again, it's weird because I had simultaneously support of being able to draw and having talent, but it's like what I wanted to do with it. People were like, oh no, you can't. And it's like, wait a minute, I can. Never mind. So I would just do it. But that took some conditioning to overcome too. I mean, it's not just from my family. It's not just from the community. It's also like other people you just run into and are friends with. Like you just like, oh, they kind of mirror some of the insecurities you might have, some of your friends. So you just have to kind of go and like say, okay, is this my insecurity that's being mirrored back and they're just trying to like relate to me? Or is this something that I can just do? Because even though if I feel like shit, I know this is something I have to do and you just do it. That's what you have to learn in life. I think that's what they call confidence eventually. But, that's one of the things I had to learn. It's like I had a lot of people like kind of disapprove of what I did and I did it anyway. And it's like now they're going like, wow, you're so uniquely you. I can't believe it. I'm so glad to know you. But it's like, man, you don't understand how much shit I got to get here. But, it's like sometimes you have to, I mean, I think what I've been told is like sometimes the best person to rely on is yourself. And the best cheerleader you can have is yourself. And I'm not saying don't depend on anybody else. You can't have people to support you. I am not saying that at all. I'm just saying that I've seen people with like all the support in the world, all the help, everything. Everybody's in their corner. And yet they still say, fuck no, because they don't believe in themselves. And that's the most important thing too. It's one of those deals. I mean, as I said, yeah, one of my arts, like, it's my advice. I said, they said, I think there was this meme saying, like, if you have too many art supplies, if you tell me I have too many art supplies, get out of my life. I don't need that sort of negativity.
I was super addicted to the art boxes for a while. It was fascinating because I was finding so many good products, but then I had nowhere to put the stuff that was good. It was amazing.
Right. And it's just, as I said, it's like, for me, I'm kind of just saying, like, I got a lot of shit for the decisions I made, but they weren't like bad decisions. It's like I think just people were kind of afraid that I was just jumping off and doing whatever.
Stephen, I know you're working on your project, and you mentioned there's the martial arts aspect of it. Can you like expand? I know it's a mixture of genres, but is that something you wanted central in the project? Something that represented East Asian culture?
Yeah, I mean, I am a big martial arts movie like fanatic, and the thing that's interesting is that so my earliest memories of like where this all kind of just started to incubate was I was 13 years old. I had a weird stomach issue, which it turns out, I mean, it lasted for like all of 8th grade. So I missed all of 8th grade. And
Oh, dang.
I was surprised that I failed or that I passed it due to this one last final assignment. But what had happened was I had this weird stomach condition and no one knew what it was. And it was terrible because at that time my dad didn't have any money. So we were just going to whatever doctors wanted to see me at like a reasonable price. And I remember having one of those, like, this is 1990 something and like early 90s, and there was the TV VHS combination. And I'll never forget, it was like I had the TV on just to soothe my stomach to sleep or soothe myself so I could sleep. But around 3 a.m., 4 a.m., I would wake up in horrible pain. And one day I remember waking up and I saw this movie. It was clips from a movie, but Asian dude with a giant freaking Magnum 357. There's bullets whizzing around him. He jumps up in the air in slow mo. He's firing the gun. I went, "What is this?" And I remember telling my dad, and we're speaking Mandarin at the house. And I was telling my dad, and my dad goes, "Oh, John Woo." And I go, "Can we go watch? Where do we watch this?" And he goes, "Well, that already aired." And I go, "Okay, so what?" He goes, "Well, we'll go to a video store." So Ranch 99 is a very frequented place. And I remember fond memories of that. It was like a huge dim sum lunch, followed by boba and popcorn chicken. I was rotund as a child. And then we would go home and it was stacks of laser discs. And we saw The Killer. It was a marathon. The Killer, Hard Boiled, A Better Tomorrow. It was just one after another. And I remember going like, "Oh, this is how you make action. This is how you make drama." And it was so far removed from what people are doing today. Everyone's trying to be like very cinema verite, which is like, like, let's do shaky cam. Let's try to make this realistic. But like John Woo did bromance in such a beautiful way. It was like there's doves. Dudes are throwing pistols to each other so they could shoot the bad guys at the same time. I was like, "Oh, they're really in love with each other. This is how they express love," So I just remember, and then I remember Tarantino would eventually. He was talking about Chungking Express. He was talking about all these movies, and it's just such a huge nerd encyclopedia of like Asian cinema, and that's how I always envision action to be. And I did grow up with Die Hard, I grew up all that stuff, but it was like Asian cinema had a very special place in my heart. And it was like, it's hard to describe. It's like, nostalgia, right? You can smell, you can see, you can taste everything. And to me, watching a Hong Kong movie it was like memories of dim sum, boba, Taiwanese snacks, all that just coagulated together. And so Joan is like, you read Joan. If you just read Joan, you don't know anything about it. You're like, "Oh, okay, cool, little action story," right? But it's like, I always picture it as if it would be 1994. It was an Eastern Western production between Tarantino and John Woo, and it would star like Winona Ryder, Chow Yun-fat. It would be produced by Choi Hark. I was just like, dude, it would be the ultimate thing. So, yeah, I mean. It's funny because I never realized that until recently. I was just because I've been studying Taiwan a lot for like the past year already, taking Mandarin lessons, and I fortunately have this professor who is a private tutor. He's not really a historian, but he definitely is a historian of literature and art, and him and I have been talking about Taiwan a lot, or of course, he's Taiwanese professor, but a lot of things I've learned is just like, oh, all that stuff. It was like validating my idea of like the early 90s. It's like, yeah, I mean, Asia came to America at a very early time. And fortunately, Chow Yun-fat, Donnie Yen, Jet Li, even Jackie Chan to some degree, they weren't accepted yet. Just people didn't really understand them. And then it was so interesting because by like, I would say, yeah, recently with the Marvel movies, it's like, those people, all those stuntmen, and I know them because, I was in LA for a time, in the martial arts stuff world for a while. But like a lot of those guys watch Asian cinema. So Captain America would not be throwing roundhouses, he would not be throwing spinning heel kicks. He had these people choreographing it never been exposed to Donnie Yen.
Right.
And in fact, I have this theory. It's like when there was fight scenes in American movies in the 80s and 90s, why do they look the way they look? Because you didn't have social media. You didn't have these quick, like 30-second clips.
I'm gonna call them.
Of like Line of Duty. You didn't have like, Yes Madam. Like no one had access to that. But now it's like I'm scrolling through Instagram and here's a 30-second clip of like, Rumble in the Bronx. Here's a 30-second clip from Drunken Master 2. It's like nowadays, like, I meet like young people. There's like people in India right now, these like young kids, they're doing all the moves from like Drunken Master 2. Back in like the late 90s or whatever, you had to drive to San Francisco Chinatown, find this little hole in the wall, and then you had to like thumb through some, a lot of like laser disc and VHSs and whatever just to find what you want. Yeah. Nowadays, you can go online, you go on Amazon, even Hiya, that channel, it's all there.
So it all,
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I know martial arts is a big part of it, and everyone, all the American movies are like MMA, but for me, man, it's the wushu. I mean, right there, that's my Jackie Chan homage, and right below that is the Beijing opera mask, which that's where he came from,
Sweet.
Yeah,
love it. Yeah, it's interesting. Like they're celebrating the 25th anniversary of The Matrix, and what's interesting is that movie. It was so innovative and all this, but it was so like, I mean, it basically absorbed all the influence from Asian cinema, right? So to your point, a lot of the American pop culture has been directly influenced by these cinematic greats that you mentioned. So that's just that's awesome. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
I had a huge debate because there was one of my friends is very, very Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's very like, the Bolo Young, all that kind of stuff. And he said, well, that's real fighting. And I was like, I had to do that thing where I was like, okay, here we go. Hold my glasses, And I just remember I was like, look, when you're 4 years old, okay, or let's 6 years old, right? You're watching Jackie dangling from a clock, and he falls right through all these like little awnings, right? Lands on his neck, okay? And then next up, he's going jab cross, throwing a giant spinning kick. The guy gets hit and spins like this and lands on his back on the ground, right? Okay. You go from that, then you watch this Jean-Claude Van Damme movie where he punches the person and the guy reacts for like a 3-second count. And then Van Damme winds up and then does his helicopter kick and the guy goes, and it cuts like there's like 4 of the same take of his like helicopter kick. Which one's real? Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I think my dad and your dad that I could relate to, Stephen, is that our dads didn't seem to have much regard for like ratings, like PG-13 and shit. Because my dad would just rent the RoboCop. He would rent RoboCop and Total Recall and Predator, and we'd just watch this when we were like fucking under 10. My sister and I would just like watch it.
Right.
And he would just put it on and we just watch it like, oh, okay, this is cool.
Yeah, I remember we rented Go-Go 13, the professional Go-Go 13.
Yes.
Oh shit. The anime or the live action?
The anime.
Oh shit.
The time, right? And then he goes, "Oh, there's a lot of sex in this. I better turn it off." I go, well, "You just let me watch RoboCop like 5 years ago."
Yeah, like when it involves the sex, I'll say the Asian mother. Wait, when it involves the sex, they just turn it off. They're like, "No, you can't look at that." It's like, you just had me like see a guy like get shot up like 50 million times. You just watch me like this guy get his head blown off by
laser. The scene between 2 cartoon characters is inappropriate compared to Alex Murphy getting his arm blown off and guys laughing at him while they're ripping his body apart. All right.
Yeah, it's or like in Total Recall, like where blows a hole in like fucking Sharon Stone's head and shit. I'm like, okay. Or like, oh, the most famous one in RoboCop, the toxic waste dude.
Yeah.
That was like
Well,
the best ever. Like, what the fuck is this?
Asian history is full of violence, but all the sexy stuff is shameful. So
Yeah.
that's why we look away. We're told to look away.
It's funny hearing you talk about the all those Asian movies, Steven. It's like when I grew up, even the Laserdisc stuff, because it's like my family was the same. We had all these. They were constantly going to like these Asian supermarkets and like Laserdisc places and getting these like movies that none of my white friends, which was like all my friends, because where I grew up there was very few Asian people. Like they never heard of any of these movies. It's refreshing hearing you talk about that, because you realize. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things I love about this group of artists that I've been meeting through this. It's like I realized my background, while it felt like really different from what I saw around me, it's not all that different from you guys. Like all those movies you mentioned, I remember watching those too and loving it and thinking they were awesome, but then also being a little embarrassed because they weren't
right. They're different.
Like they weren't what everyone else was talking about or watching or thought was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is every now and then I will, like, when I'm at a convention and there's people who recognize my prints, they'll like mention these like 90s like or 80s Hong Kong movies like Chinese Ghost Story or The Bride with White Hair, and I'm sitting there going, oh okay. And sometimes they even know more than I do, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. One of the things that and I'm tying this back into like how much it influences my work. One of the things I've been realizing is that there's a cultural barrier. There's this wall, and you will feel it when you start to embrace it more. When you embrace the generality of culture, you're accepted anywhere. But the minute you start to embrace what makes you different, you start to feel the barrier. So one of the things I started to notice is that my wife, and this is something that's been kind of upsetting me. My wife has been really proud of all the things I've been learning. So she has been, when she introduces me to people, sometimes a lot of, I would say like friends that are from like different backgrounds, they'll want to know like where I'm from. And she'll say, oh, Steven's from Taiwan. And I usually hear a lot of weird things about the misconceptions of what Taiwan is, what Chinese culture is. And it's weird because I have to modify now who I am to suit whatever version that person is seeing of whatever they think the culture is. So I remember for the longest time that I had that feeling when I was in high school. It was like I couldn't really share my love for Jackie Chan movies. I couldn't share like the language. I couldn't even like my artwork isn't actually from just like looking and drawing at things. I was actually trained in calligraphy. I'm not very good at it, but a lot of the style with the brushwork got transferred into the actual art drawing. So what ended up happening is that I even had to hide that. So for a while, I copy Tom McFarlane. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it was like, no, I really actually like reading Doraemon. I love reading like Fist of the North Star. I love all those comics. But it was weird because I couldn't really talk about it because I would hear, oh, anime is like all the same. And it's like, well, no, it's not, because Katsuhiro Otomo loved French illustrators, and he was heavily influenced by French illustrators. If you look at Tatsuro Hara, all his style came from like the Lone Wolf and Cub and Lone Wolf and Cub, where they get their style from, like Japanese, like the floating world prints. I mean, it's like when you start to learn that stuff and you start to embrace it, you find out that other people don't really know about it, and they may kind of give you this weird like look. But I don't care anymore. It influenced me. I got good because of that, and I'm not going to be ashamed of that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, that's actually how I grew up. 30 years ago, when I was in high school, we didn't have any Asian kids in my school, but I had an Asian older brother, and I was big into all the 90s action. I was big into Fist of the North Star, anime. I got into that super early, so we didn't really have anybody in school to talk about that stuff. And this was like right around the time when like Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon were just airing, so there's only like maybe one or two people that even knew what it was, because Jap animation back in the day, they didn't even have wasn't even called anime. But yeah, it was a totally different time. It was a lot of fun, and that's what I grew up on. That's all my stuff.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, here.
Amazing
Hold on.
stuff,
Speaking
too.
of Fist of the North Star, hang on 1 second. I picked this up the other day at a con.
Ooh, let me see this shit.
There you go.
Yes.
Oh,
Whoa.
Is
nice.
that Ken? Who's that?
It's called Ryu. Oh crap, what's his name?
Ken?
No, the other guy. Ryuga? Is it Ryuga? I forgot. But yeah. I think so. Yeah, I picked him up. Oh, he's so dope. Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh yeah.
That's my
That's really cool.
Fist
Oh,
of the
that
North
movie-
Star is just fucking great because it's just excessively
So good.
violent and ridiculous. It's so funny.
so good. I love the art
Yeah,
style
like,
too.
just watching it, freaking like I test positive for testosterone like use. It's just like they're so hyper masculine, like just
I love it. Listen,
Yeah,
I even
I
love
do.
the cheesy '90s live action movie. It was so good. It's so
That was
stupid,
great.
but it's
Oh,
amazing.
there's a live
It's so
action?
good. Yeah, there's a live action movie. Yeah.
Guyver was fucking ridiculous too.
Oh, Guyver was great.
was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and then they
Oh,
had
yeah.
the guy that played like Solid Snake for the longest time, the voice. He was actually in one of the movies.
Yeah.
David Hayter. Yeah, he was in one
What
of the
would
movies.
what would we have done without Blockbuster? Really, like
I know.
Blockbuster was just like the gateway
Blockbuster
to.
was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, remember the OVAs that they used to make? Like
Yes.
Battle Angel came from that too, you know?
Right. Right.
I watched Dirty Pair, not
I
Flash.
love
Dirty
Dirty
Pair,
Pair.
yeah.
Yes.
Streamline.
And I love that
Well,
Adam
well,
Warren
nice.
actually picked up that series for a while. He was doing Dirty
right.
Pair for a long time.
Yeah, he localized it with Torrin Smith. I was like a big follower of that because it was like actually what I could understand because like back in the day I would go to Japantown because I grew up in the Bay Area and we just like get it like bootleg from Laserdisc and we buy the video game.
Yeah.
And then, like, I mean, the VHS tapes because they would bootleg it directly from the fucking Laserdisc. So we buy it, and then I watch Silent Mebius. You can't even find fucking Silent Mebius.
Oh yeah, shit. Yeah, I remember that.
Oh yeah.
I picked up one of the comics from the same place I got the action figure. So like, you know how they have like the '90s stuff? Like they had like Sanctuary, they had all this stuff. They had like Wicked City and all those things. I know, it's crazy. But yeah, I'm still buying them from the same comic shop from 30 years ago that I was buying all this stuff up when it was coming out. It's amazing.
Yeah, I got bored and I like. Oh, go on. Sorry.
I was just saying real quick, just kind of like a small trivia is like Taiwan was occupied by Japan for like the longest time, for like 50 years. So one of the things that I remember hearing from people who go to China, they'll say like, oh, well, Taiwan's weird because like they were expecting it to be more Chinese, but it's like it has very Japanese cultural like stuff. And one of the biggest things that got transferred over culturally is the manga and the anime.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
So like as a kid, like you can't get away from that. It's just like it's just there, and like people complain a lot that anime is like in like everything, and I'm like, yeah, well, so what?
Yeah.
Like who gives a shit? It's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So good.
Korea, same sort of history, you know, like, yeah, I mean, when you go to Korea, when I was a kid, I'd go in the summers and they'd have all the same cartoons playing in Japan, playing in Korea, but just the Korean dubbed versions of them. So you just had this cultural bridge of,
You know what was
anime.
like the some shit that I would go like on summer sometimes when I go to Korea and when I was a kid during summer vacation. It was the American cartoons dubbed in Korean, and it was weird
Oh, yeah, we
because
were talking
technically
about
this is not American technically. I mean, if you want to go in there, but Jesus, there was, but basically Smurfs in Korean is very fucking weird.
yeah, we talked about this last time.
Yeah,
the,
like
the
I would
Korean
watch-
version of the Smurfs.
Yeah, like now you can go on YouTube and experience it. So guys, if you can for homework, go on YouTube and like find Smurfs in Korean on YouTube. You will find clips and you're like, what the fuck is this shit? Imagine me growing up on this. That's why I probably turned out to be the well-adjusted person I am today.
Yeah.
It's odd to hear everyone talk about how all this stuff was different and unique because, and I when I was growing up, I was exposed to some of it, whatever actually got imported So, like I got the American versions of the anime, and growing up, I didn't get a lot of the cool stuff that I have access to now. So looking at like old school manga, old school anime, and some of the current stuff. So like, I always thought it was normal to like Japanese style stuff and Asian style stuff. But I also had the problem of, and I tell this story. I've done Asian creator panels at cons, and I tell this story a lot. I grew up thinking that I was white. I thought I was white until I was about 9 or 10 years old, because I didn't know that Asian people weren't white. Asian people apparently are Asian, and I didn't know that. I went to a friend's house to play one day, just like normal, and I came home, and I told my mom, and she was in the kitchen, and I said, sometimes it's weird going to play at this person's house because I'm the only white person there. And she stops what she was doing, and she looked at me. She goes, "You're not white." And I'm like, "I'm not." She goes, "No, you're Chinese. Chinese isn't white." No, Chinese is Asian. Because growing up, I thought when I heard adults talk, and whenever my parents would watch the news, and anytime you saw people on TV, most people, there was black people and there were white people, and I clearly wasn't black, so I thought that I was white because of the world that was presented to me in the context in which it was presented to me. So when she told me that Chinese people aren't white, they're Asian, all of a sudden, first of all, it's a brand new world. I thought that eating Chinese food was normal. I thought that liking Japanese stuff was normal. I thought that Bruce Lee, I clearly was white. Bruce Lee was Chinese just like me, and he was white too. So it was normal to see Bruce Lee on TV. And then you grow up and...
Well, actually, wait. Technically, he was a quarter.
Technically, he was half
white.
German and half Chinese, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, well, yes. No. His mom was half German and half Chinese. I think she was Hong Kong, but then he's a quarter German technically.
Oh, he's a quarter German. Okay.
Yeah, he's a quarter German.
And so, when I reached high school, and this is when high school kids are supposed to be smart, but they still retain that childhood cruelty because kids make fun of other kids. So now you combine the two, and you've got high school kids. And my dad, he was the first one in his family to be born in America. His parents and his two older siblings were born in China.
Sorry. Ooh.
And so my dad, I'm not sure why, I love him, but I think now that he was in America, he was growing up and he wanted to be American. And so when he had me, he tried speaking to me in Taiwanese for a while and then gave up because I wasn't responding. And I find out later that firstborn kids take the longest to learn how to talk because they have no one else around. And so I grew up not knowing the language. So now I'm in high school and I get made fun of for not being Asian enough. And I have an aversion to that to this day. When somebody tells me that I'm not Chinese enough, when it's a joke, I'm like, ha ha. And inside, I'm like, I'm going to punch somebody in the teeth with a proper Wing Chun punch. So a lot of my adult life has been spent trying to become more and more Chinese, trying and failing miserably at learning Mandarin because the resources to learn Taiwanese are so few and far between, or I can pay for lessons. The same with Cantonese these days because Mandarin is so prevalent. Looking at Chinese painting techniques.
Can I roast you a little bit? You just said, what did you just say about Mandarin? Not having access to Mandarin?
No, Taiwanese.
Oh, but what about Mandarin? How's your Mandarin? How's that going?
Oh shit! Here we go.
It's coming slowly. I've restarted my studies. Yes, I still suck.
Do you call your Taiwanese friend who speaks Mandarin to practice?
I can't even order food.
Oh, you don't know how to use a phone. I get it. It's okay. Continue your
Fingers,
story,
buddy. John Woo Fingers.
John Woo Finger.
Anyway, thanks, Stephen. I feel completely caramelized on the outside and medium rare on the inside.
Wow.
That's a cooking joke. It's called roasting. So a lot of my adult life has been spent trying to become more and more Chinese. And so I'm going to circle back around too and say how this affects my work is that everything that I do, everything that I've done for at least the past 5 to 10 years, or whenever I started drawing again. So let's say 2016. So for the past 8 years, everything I do has become more and more Chinese, even if you can't see it, whether it's the techniques that I use or the symbolism that I put into my conceptual illustration or the tools that I use. Or if I'm drawing comics or if I'm talking about comics, the storytelling methods are not strictly American. There's a lot of great storytelling in manga that people take the superficial parts of and apply it, and they may or may not understand what it is that they're doing, but it looks cool and they kind of know what it stands for, but do they actually know what's behind it? So even though that's I'm talking about manga, it's Japanese, but I'm trying to become more and more Chinese, more and more Asian overall as I get older and older, because as a kid I didn't know I was Asian. Apparently I was white when I was a kid.
See, the thing is that my dad always drilled into me that I was Korean. They made me go to Korean school and all that. So I said, okay, I'm an American, but I'm Korean too. That's fine. That's my attitude. It's
but to you, that was normal, right?
What?
It was normal, right? It was normal to be Korean.
It was
normal
white.
to eat these things. It was normal to speak this language. Or at least in my case, it was normal to hear this language. I don't understand what my grandma's saying, but it's normal. I know when she's yelling, and I know when my uncles are mad because when they scream "Hi, Lama," I know exactly they're pissed off at their mom. So all that was normal. I didn't know it was abnormal to be anything else.
Yeah.
I just was
Except
Korean
a white
and
Chinese
American.
That's a good upbringing. Yeah, good upbringing to be sheltered like that.
I mean, there is Charlie Brown, so there you go. You could just wear the yellow shirt.
You could be the Asian Charlie Brown.
Yeah. I mean, he does constantly agree.
You will never see me wearing a yellow shirt ever.
Actually, no. Remember the Crazy 88s? One of the guys was wearing a Charlie Brown thing, They were calling him Charlie Brown because he was wearing a kimono or something that was similarly patterned to the Charlie Brown shirt. So you should just cosplay as Charlie Brown.
The only time you'll ever see me wear yellow is if I'm cosplaying as Bruce Lee from Game of Death. That's it.
Oh.
Well, I mean, but you look constantly agreed. You're halfway there.
I want to see that.
Because I mean,
hold on. You just said it, and then you're not going to do it.
I need to get a wig. That's all.
A wig. I mean, you could be Krillin
This weekend, you got some time.
And then I can walk around bouncing.
Get the nunchucks.
Well, I mean, here's also the other thing too. It's I tell him he's got the Last Airbender tattoo. I said, go and commit. Do the blue arrow. Just do it. And he won't do it. I said, what are you having?
Usually there's a giant appa you could go sit on too. So, I mean, that would work perfectly.
What's funny is anytime there's a cosplayer as Aang at a convention, and they got the pin on tattoos or they got the cap, they always walk by and I go, hey, nice cosplay. And I show my tattoo and I go, it's real. Yeah, it is real because I did commit. Avatar: The Last Airbender is one of the most perfect examples of cultural appropriation done right. So, and actually, because it felt weird to get a tattoo of something I'm a fan of that is extremely Asian fantasy based, but not created by anybody Asian. The martial arts consultant is not Asian, but studied under a Chinese sifu. Most of the voice actors, except for 2 or 3, were not Asian, and yet is extremely respectful, well-researched, and reverent to the sources. Chinese, Japanese, Inuit, Indian, Hindu. So it's weird to have this on my arm, and on the other hand, it's wow. We all do it. We all appropriate, and we all culturally appropriate. It's how you do it, and so it's weird to have this on my arm. And on the other hand, it's a really good example of showing respect to the culture.
Yeah.
I remember when I said, "Well, why don't you go and cosplay?"
Interrupt you guys. I gotta go take care of some cat family duties, but
Bye.
Thank you for having me on. And
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you for being
I'm
here.
really excited about seeing you guys this weekend.
Thanks,
and I
Steven.
showed the
Yeah.
diagram. I showed
What?
part of the seating diagram, and I showed it to Katie. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Christy wants us to throw
Yeah.
things at each other, Steven.
Well,
Yeah,
look at how
well,
you guys are yelling at
You're
each other.
easily in reach.
That
of
might
each
What's
other
gonna
right now.
happen? We're gonna throw
That
each other
might happen.
guns. We're gonna
Did you
throw
see
each other
that
guns.
meme? Did you see the meme I sent you? What's Taiwan?
Yeah, and did you see my response?
No, I don't care. But anyway, I'll see you guys later.
Bye.
That will be my weekend. They will
I
be
hate that
throwing
guy.
shit at each other.
That sounds amazing. I like that. I really enjoy that. It'd be great. So this is interesting because they're coming out with a whole brand new one, live action. And it looks like it's going to be really good for the new Avatar live action. Excited
I
about
thought
it.
they already came out with it.
The second
already
season
out?
or
We came
the
out with 2 already. Is this like a 3rd?
I don't know. Because
'Cause
they
I know
had
they
that
had a
terrible
show.
one.
There's
Yeah.
a terrible one, and I thought there was a better one, or did that not come out
Yeah,
yet?
there was.
I think
Yeah.
I don't-
there
there's
was
a movie,
There was a
There's
movie
the
that was
movie, yeah.
shitty.
and then there's
The
the
live
Netflix
action movie.
version, which I never finished because it's actually kind of not very good. But when it
Uh-oh. Yeah. Oh, so is that the new one figure? The one that just
there's
came
a
out?
new
He's
one.
talking
Yeah,
about?
there's a
Because
new
it
one.
didn't come
Yeah.
out too long ago, I don't think.
No, it came out earlier this year. I think there's 8, 10 episodes. I stopped right at the beginning of the 4th episode, and I kind of just didn't care anymore.
Well, it's kind of funny. I was remembering I said, because I'm not completely familiar with Legend of Korra or The Last Airbender. I just know of it peripherally, right? So I said, oh, you've got Aang's tattoo, right? Because I thought that's how he pronounced. And then Philip just went, Ong. You mean Ong? Like that? I'm like, okay, dude.
Yeah, they
Nerd
pronounce
about that.
They pronounce it wrong in the
In the movie.
M. Night Shyamalan movie.
I never watched it. I don't give a shit.
It's
I think that was,
pronounced
like, the
Ong
number
in the
one thing that
movie.
everyone
It's
was
pronounced
like,
Aang in the cartoon.
Oh, okay.
That is the biggest bunch of crap I ever did here, Jay. Get out of here with that. Dragon Ball Evolution is not the best live action translation of a cartoon today. Get out of here.
The best
Wait,
live
Goku
action
was like a
translation
white
of
dude
a
with
cartoon.
spiky hair. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like,
I was
what is
very
all
excited
this?
to
Like,
see my boy from God in there, but no. It's not.
So I want to kind of end with your thoughts on again we're promoting Asian Invasion, which is sort of just a community engagement of Asian American artists in the Bay Area that are in the comic book industry. And I do want to ask each of you, there's a fair amount of representation in the comic book industry. There's been some pioneers in the industry. Obviously, we look at where Jim Lee is. He's heading DC Comics.
the money and the power. Oh, sorry.
Right. And, there's a lot of artists in doing work, getting recognition, winning awards. How has that either helped or hurt your own sort of career path, and what are some of, I guess the challenges and barriers that you've personally experienced working in the industry, if any, and also how it's maybe your identity has helped you. We touched on how it's helped your art, but how has it helped your careers? And feel free to chime in.
I don't know. I just draw messed up shit and people accept it. I don't know. I think they think it's funny. So, it's like I don't draw like anime stuff or anything. I just draw really warped shit and it's like it goes out there. So I think people kind of like get kind of amazed by that or like they're kind of shocked by that. But, to kind of throw it off there or throw people off, like I'll draw a really gross character, but then I'll actually dress really nice. So I like fucking with people that way. So I guess that's one of those things that I play with. So I don't think it hurts me or anything. I think they just expect a certain thing from me. But then again, it's just, I think they expect certain things out of anybody and I just kind of mess with their head. So that's kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think this is an interesting question because as an artist, as a visual artist specifically, we're not required to show our face, or at least we didn't used to be. And so to have an Asian person in a TV show or a movie was different because if you're an Asian male, nobody wanted that as a lead man. And if you're an Asian woman, everybody wanted to eroticize and fantasize and fetishize that. And, you know, we weren't worthy of having notable roles because we were seen. But it's easier to be an artist because nobody had to see us, unless you're doing, you know, certain types of art, unless you're presenting Asian art. There's a wonderful photographer. Her name is Jingna Zhang, I believe. She is the founder, or at least co-founder, of Kara, the app. And she used to do a lot of fashion photography. She's an anime fan, and I believe she worked for a lot of fashion magazines. I think probably heavily in the East Asian area. So the East Asian publications of Vogue, et cetera, et cetera.
She was a lot of it.
She'd been told repeatedly by creative directors that, well, one, they looked down upon her because she's a woman, and two, they said that her stuff is too Asian. You know, so if you're presenting Asian art, and unfortunately also if you're a woman, well, you've got two strikes against you there, and which is stupid. And then if you've got Asian art, unless it's anime, it's, you know, maybe doesn't fit the aesthetic. These days things are changing a little bit, and anime and manga are extremely popular. But as an artist who is also Asian, one, I don't technically need to show my face. My work represents me. So I'm not a movie star, I'm not a TV star. So Jim Lee being Asian, Danny Miki being Asian, Stan Sakai being Asian, I don't know if that necessarily helps me. It doesn't hurt. So so that's one thing to think about, I think. On the other hand, with the rise in popularity of popular Asian media, anime has gotten really big, much bigger than it has been in the last, I'm not going to reveal my age, but you know, it's gotten really big in the last 15 years. Manga's gotten big in the last 20 years. K-pop's huge. J-pop was huge. Japanese hip-hop had its time to shine when Samurai Champloo became a mainstream import. Korean dramas, Korean action films, Hong Kong action films, those all got really popular over the years. And so that, I think, helps us. But at the same time, and this is one of the things that I realized when Stephen was talking about growing up with martial arts movies and anime, and I was like, yeah, I love martial arts movies. I love anime. And then the next American movie came out, and the one Asian dude knew martial arts. And then the next American movie came out, and the one Asian dude knew martial arts. And then over and over and over again. And it kind of sucked because on one hand, martial arts is a really big part of what we do. It actually has historical significance in China, and then Japan, and then Korea, by way of India. So it has huge historical significance, not just in terms of fighting, but also mentality and philosophy. But it's also like the one Asian dude in your American movie knows martial arts, and we're going to do that again, and we're going to do that again. And oh God, now we have our first Asian superhero. And as much as I love Shang-Chi, he's basically, you know, a master of Kung Fu. Now, I've matured a little bit. And so I don't really care as much as I used to when I was younger about this. But I did think for a time that, you know, Jesus Christ, are we not more than, you know, high-flying kicks and wire work and fast punches and action? Like I said, I care a little bit less about that now because the graphic novel that I need to get back to working on is a martial arts based book, but there's more to it than that. The story is the most important. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that I wanted to do when I was organizing our NorCal version of Asian Invasion is to not only have the cool stuff that we're known for represented. We have Fish, who is inspired by the Japanese school of cartooning, manga. I think you can see in her work, but she'll tell you that she's very anime influenced. We have Gio, who's got a little bit of anime, but he's got a Filipino approach to it. So we've got that kind of cool stuff. But then we have Stephanie, who's a watercolor fantasy artist specializing in nature and animals and mythology. We have Dave, who was inspired heavily by independent comics, especially who's the dude that does the gorillas artwork? Jamie Delano? Jamie Hewlett, yeah. And his shit's fantastic. And we have Steven, who is martial arts based, and you can see that he takes a Chinese painterly approach. We've got Hillary Orr, who goes by Squid Bacon. She does tiny hand sculpted food jewelry, and it's really cool to see really tiny musubi earrings. And I see in the chat, Derek Kirk Kim, his first big thing was same difference in other stories about, growing up in America as a Korean. But now he's doing The Last Mermaid, which is, sci-fi. And so we have a lot of cool different things. It's not just comics, and it's not just the type of art that's expected of us. Anime, waifu shit. No. And actually, we don't have any waifu. Not there's anything wrong with it, but we don't have any at the
I mean,
show.
Demon Bitch is the ultimate waifu, but she's a waifu you don't want.
She's not the wife. She's the waifu that I want to find myself in a shelter from, because abuse.
Oh God, yeah. Like Philip, one of his first fan art of Demon Bitch was her like trying to like sing "Is This Love?" and it looks like she's like trying to touch him inappropriately, and he says like, "Oh God, get away!"
I don't know why I drew myself
it, not
being
me.
molested, but I did. And guess who liked it? She did. But yeah, we have a bunch of different voices represented at this show, and all of us are Asian, and that's what I wanted. It's we come from different backgrounds, but we're all Asian. We all have different voices, but we're all Asian. Some of us do comics, some of us do sculpture, some of us do illustrations, some of us paint, some of us draw, and all of it's there. Some of our shit looks like American stuff, but we're still Asian, and some of our stuff looks super Asian, and yeah, we're Asian. So that's what I wanted at the show, and luckily I've been able to add more artists to our roster. So I'm actually really excited to have, people come out and see everybody.
The only thing that we will not do is sing "Let's Get Down to Business, I'll Make a Man Out of You" from Mulan. I will fucking kill you if you do that. Because now every time I go into a room full of Asians, because you know how like Mulan came out, it's like everybody was like, "Oh fuck, Disney made an Asian movie," and all Asians really wanted it because they actually can't cast a majority of Asian voice actors and shit, and they actually got Asian people to kind of star with it, except for Eddie Murphy for Mushu, and I know what the fuck that was, but anyway, the thing is that they all glommed onto it. Yeah. So we get it, like with the Black Panther thing, we all glommed onto it. Like, fuck, we got to have this movie. And then now, like everybody, if there's a room of Asian people, I guarantee at one point somebody's going to sing that fucking song. Now I'm beginning to hate that song.
Well, our community had a big moment at the Emmys with Shogun having the success that it had at award show. And I think overall, it's very positive. Their thoughtfulness in that production was a breath of fresh air, I think. But at the same time, it's like there had to be this coordination between like American script writers writing a scene and then having their Japanese counterparts rewrite it. And so there's still, it's exemplary of that cultural disconnect, right? There's no real, and hopefully future projects will better represent, East Asian characters, periods, cultural references. But I just want to end with the laws. Your thoughts in this moment where we're kind of, we've worked so hard to get to where we are as a community, and how you're going to take sort of this positive energy around what's happening in arts and entertainment to your work and your careers. So yeah, Stephanie, David.
I mean, I think it's amazing to see more and more of our representation of this. Like we just never saw that growing up, and it was a little bit like Phil was saying, where you don't realize you're Asian because for me it was the lack of anything, and so because of that lack, I just didn't even know that there was something missing. It was so complete, this blackout of what we are, and so because I didn't see it, it just didn't occur to me that I was different in some ways. And when I first started my career, it was really, because by then I did realize, I was coming to realize what my identity was and what that meant to me in my art and my inspiration. And I wanted very much to have that come into evidence. And so our last name is not super obvious as an Asian last name. It happens just because of the way it was translated when the first generation came to the US in our family. They were asked, how do you want to spell this? And some people choose L-O-W, Lo, Lao, Lee. These are all kind of variations of the same thing, but our family chose L-A-W, which frequently gets mistaken for not being Asian. And in fact, one of my cousins who is I think she was doing some kind of marketing, she actually decided to change her last name to Law, even though her mother was a Law, so they changed it to, they had a different last name, but she changed it to Law because she didn't want people that she was speaking to on the phone in her job to know that she was Asian immediately. Because for her, it was an advantage to have that ambiguity. For me, I felt the opposite when I decided to, when I became professional with my art. I decided I really want to make this evident that I am Asian, and so it was important to me to include my full name, which is Stephanie Puiman Law. My middle name is Chinese, and I actually went with that for many years, and I eventually dropped it, not because it wasn't important to me any longer, but because it got mangled all the time. No one knew how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
And no one knew how to say it. And even when they do know how to say it, there is actually not a correlating sound in English for the sounds of my name. And so it was just not something that people could really wrap their brains around. And so eventually I took it out from my professional name that I use, but it was still something that was extremely important to me because it was so much of what influenced me, what influences my art. You know, you guys were talking about all the kung fu movies and all these action films, but there was also a lot of the other kinds of movies that our parents watched when we were growing up were these soap operas, which were extended, long, dramatic.
Dave has an aversion to that music
that happened these things, but they were these really elaborate, costumed, like sort of fantasy historical, and it was a large part of what influenced my art as well, is were these kind of fantasy, more fantastical stories that my mom was she loved these. She was just watching them all the time.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the background. That was the kind of background stuff that was going on in our household. There was definitely a lot of these action kung fu movies, but there was also this softer, dramatic side that was also, my grandmother was also always watching these. Every time we went to visit her, something was going on the TV in the background with this.
Yeah.
And he was the one who first told me stories about fox spirits and Chinese ghosts. And this is where I was influenced, where I first got exposed to that, and where I started drawing these kinds of, Asian folklore. This was stuff that my grandmother had mentioned to me when she saw I was drawing fairies, and she said, "Oh, let me tell you about these fox spirit fairies." And so, now everyone knows about kitsune. Everyone's drawing and doing those, but it was a unique thing in the 90s to be drawing from these sources that most people were not familiar with yet, that they had not had exposure yet to this mythology and this whole branch of fantasy that is Asian-based.
No, I just love that part of Asian culture, how the mythology part, that is really lost in American culture. I mean, you see it in books, you see it in children's books, and it like pieces of it, but it's really lost on the majority of Americans. And there's, again, I think it's just a lack of education, lack of connection to people who have those resources, or just communities blending. But you there in the Bay Area obviously have, a more diverse, inclusive, sort of shared community there as opposed to other parts of the country. So yeah, very
The other
representative.
thing about the integration of the mythology into our everyday was something that I noticed is it's just prevalent everywhere. You see dragons and phoenixes stitched onto blankets and pillows and wall hangings and things. And when we have Moon Festival, we talk about the Moon Lady and the rabbit up in the moon. And there's this kind of magic to everyday interaction that is lacking, I think, from just white American life, where you accept these things as just part of your everyday, or even just for a celebration, for Moon Festival or something. We talk about these things, and there's this fantasy element to life.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave, yeah, you've been rather quiet. Sorry, we haven't focused on getting to you, but yeah, I guess you could close us out. What your final thoughts on the discussion so far?
Oh yeah, like I think one of the things I love about the comic book industry, to kind of answer that question you're saying, is how diverse it is. I mean, when I came into it, I think I never set out to have my close group of friends all be Asian. It just happened that way, and that's the only place in my life that's there. I mean, everywhere else, my profession and school, even where I live, like Asian people are scarce for some reason, and it's not because I set out to not have Asian friends, but in this field of work, in comic books and in art, strangely enough, it's just like there's a huge Asian community, and they're all so willing to help and support each other. I think it's an awesome thing. I've never felt like, I think I've been on a panel before where they talk to Asian creators, and they're like, well, what kind of hurdles did you have being an Asian in this? And I was like, if anything, it's like a benefit to be Asian in this world, because there are so many people who are Asian in it that are willing to help each other. And I think that's a great thing. I think I've never felt that I didn't belong because I was Asian. Like I said, there's just a huge Asian community in it that I've been thankful to be a part of, and actually learn about myself. Like I was just saying to Steven, and like a lot of the things you guys have been talking about, they all resonate with me too. And it's really cool to hear people talking about these things and realize that we have this kind of shared culture as Asian Americans, not necessarily like Chinese or Japanese or, but as Asians in America, we have actually our own culture that I'm seeing more and more as I hear various people's accounts, what it's like to be here, or read books like, American Born Chinese, those kinds of things, hearing about like the Monkey King. I remember my mom telling me about the Monkey King. That's to speak about folklore, like, and just thinking, what a weird story. Like, it's such a weird story. Like, I don't think Americans would ever understand it. And as much as I loved hearing about it, and lo and behold, there's totally people who
and then there's like there's the Indian version of it on that side of events that's kind of told somewhat similarly, but not. And it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird because when you hear the backstory of it, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I won't get into it here, but when I heard it, I'm like, oh fuck, guys. But
yeah, so I'm just like to top it off, I'm super thankful to be part of this community. Like Phil was kind of talking about the diversity of the people that are going to be at the Asian Invasion event. It's so many different art styles, but we have like this shared community, this shared kind of experience being Asian and American. So yeah, really cool, really great time to be creating this kind of stuff.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever wanted to be introduced to some other people that you might not know, I know a lot of people in the California area and some other areas that would probably very much like to attend old versions of Asian Invasion. So I'll definitely link you guys to some artists that are fantastic.
Oh, that'd be
That'd be
great.
great.
Yeah. I think like Asian Invasion in LA, the Yellow Peril version, that is going to be on Free Comic Book Day. So that'd be the first weekend of May. So
Nice.
like if I can get people for that, I'd love to line that up. Because like
Nice.
last
And we'd
time
love
we
to
had,
have love to have that panel on because Nam and Young and I do AAPI Heritage Month where
Right.
if we can get the whole panel on, that'd be wonderful.
because like I know like we managed to get Porn Sock Pinch and Ote. I think you might have had Don Wynn on there too.
Yeah.
And then there's Mog and Mel, like Mog Park. I'm trying to remember what other people you've had on the show because like my brain is in the lumberyard right now. So I'm like kind of like siphoning through that. But I know I've had a lot of really good people on there as well. So
Yeah.
but I'm very
I like
pleased
that you called it the Yellow Peril version.
because so when we were kind of like looking at NorCal versus SoCal is like more, I don't know about laid back, but they're more kind of experimental with names. So I did the Yellow Peril thing as like a ironic thing, but when we were talking about NorCal, it's like that might not be well received in NorCal, even though I'm being ironic. So we just did NorCal version just to kind of differentiate the different shows because my evil plan to take over world domination because apparently I'm an evil Asian person is I'm fucking with that, by the way, because of that whole concept. But you just take a seed and just kind of throw it somewhere, and then if it lands, let it sprout and grow and acclimate to its own environment. So it's sort of like this plant may be different than the one in LA, but it's genetically kind of the same.
Yeah, when you have your first Asian Invasion at a nonprofit, the subtitle Yellow Peril probably doesn't go over well with boards of directors, so we had to scrap that. And because of that too, like I had to make sure people knew like it's an art show, so like I had to tongue in cheek put that on all of our promo items. Like the first last year when I designed the poster. There's this huge. I took Christie's artwork and handwritten logo, and I was asked to not use the skull, which I think is a badass skull, and I think it's hilarious.
I
but
love
we
that
were asked.
skull. I think it's so cool.
That is bad. Yeah.
We were asked not to use it and I understand it completely. Understand it from a business perspective, nonprofit perspective, and then so. I took her logo. It says Asian Invasion, and it's really huge, and it's in red. And I looked at it while I was designing the poster, and I put a bunch of artwork in the back, and I thought, you know what, this is huge. So I put in parentheses, "Don't worry, it's an art show," because I was afraid that it's weird. You think of Oakland, San Francisco, Bay Area as like a liberal place, but maybe it's also too scared. And so we had to scrap some of the more edgy, tongue-in-cheek stuff. And
that's too bad. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? It is what it is, and at least we've been able to keep the name Asian Invasion. So.
Well, and now that we're in a comic store, I think we could probably have a little bit more relaxed things on it. I mean, as I just said, like I kind of throw it out there to see what the fuck happens, and it's kind of funny. So
you've seen that King Kong Comics used the skull in one of their promos. They took the skull from wherever they got it, and they used the skulls. I'm like, sweet.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I just did it to be funny. It's like the slitty skull, and it's like the Punisher because of like the whole COVID-19 thing. There's like the skull and shit, and then I just decided to do the slitty eyes and everything just because I just wanted to.
I still need that shirt. I still need to get that shirt.
I want to get that.
You need to order that shirt, dude.
Yeah.
Like I have that shirt. I'm wearing that shirt probably on Friday when we do setup or like get our shit in there.
That's a great con. That's a great con shirt. Yeah.
You can order it. It's like it's kind of weird because like how you have to get apparel done and everything. It's all messed up. But also, here's the thing too. I actually have pillows that are available to order, so you can get pillows and blankets of Asian Invasion done.
Are they body pillows with the skull on it?
Yeah.
Weird.
No, they're the saucy potted pillows with the demon bitch on it.
But however, if you get the blanket, you can straddle it.
I know.
Don't tell me what the fuck you do with it, but you could
Oh,
straddle
you can make
it.
a demon bitch body pillow.
Oh god,
No,
I have to take a look into that.
I
These are
already
just
do myself
standard
being
size pillows.
molested
They're
by
just square
demon
pillows.
bitch. I don't need a body pillow.
I'm sure you don't. But you were suggesting that you were going to go and like get like a blanket of Asian invasion so you could straddle it when it's furry and everything.
I
'Cause
did
it's
not
furry
say
food.
that. That came out of your mouth.
Well, okay, Charlie Brown, but
Oh. Okay.
All right.
because he's constantly aggrieved, you know.
Well, we know it's going to be a fun weekend with you guys. So if you're in the Bay Area, go check them out this weekend at King Kong Comics. Should we put up the Asian Invasion promo?
Sure.
Yeah. There we go.
Which promo?
Oh, just the sign that you have, not a big blow up of me. There we go.
Yay.
Asian Invasion this weekend, King Kong Comics, Dublin, California. If you don't have plans or you just want to hang out with some really talented, creative, and funny artists, just drop by and say hello.
And you'll
it'll
get to see the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle mural that Dave, Steven, and I did for the shop.
That's right.
Sweet.
Pretty freaking cool.
Please take a photo and like just be very active so we can, those of us not in the area can at least experience what the weekend was like.
Yeah.
Please be very active on your Instagrams. Give all these artists a follow, please.
For sure.
You know, Woodrow, you can just fly into California.
That's true.
Yeah,
I was actually going to ask, would you ever be interested in doing a non-Cali version or in a different country?
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people like say you do one in Australia because there's a lot of Australian-based Asians, but a lot of them come from the Philippines and all those other countries to go there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't
Christy.
have an issue with it. I would love to do it. It's just like the money and cost. Like if they want to go and just take it and just say, okay, we're going to do this. And then I'm the originator, and then just go and make it into whatever it is, like as it is, you know, how it evolves into that, if that makes sense.
Just to get the global moniker, just to get the global moniker, you should do your next one like in Vancouver, BC, or somewhere, you know, like where it's just
in China,
the border, yeah, or China would be like Asian return, I guess.
I just kind of wonder if it's like I should do Asian Invasion, the drunk version, when I go to Seoul. You know, like when I just do one, and just like Seoul, and it's like people will get mad. I'm like, I don't give a fuck, whatever. But yeah, no, I mean, it's just one of those things. It's just, as I said, it's a free event. Guys, stop on by. It's like you won't have to be burdened by expensive con food or any of that bullshit. I mean, look, there's some of the names here that, you know, if you go to a con, you're going to have to go through crowds of people like Derek Kirk Kim, The Last Mermaid. There's that. Jason Shiga's pretty big. And then Don Aguillo. I mean, we've got a lot of other good people too, like Dave Law and Stephen Yu that we showed. So it's like we always try to make a mix of people that are up and coming to people that are already established. And I kind of wanted to keep that as a flow. Like when I was telling Philip, when you do the NorCal, make sure you have that. It's, you know, I mean, I hope that Gene Wen Yang would like to do it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know, because he's really nice and really like easygoing, and I'm not. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to throw this out there, Jim Lee, if you're watching, you know, you're invited. You're invited.
I don't want to pull the fucking Korean card, dude. Please.
Jim Lee, your table fee will be $1,000.
I think we would have to pay him. That's
Jim
coming
Lee,
out of your
table
salary.
fee will be $1,000. Just kidding.
No, but that would be interesting if he showed that.
Give me a cover job.
Stop pouring yourself off. God damn it.
This whole show has been self-plugging. Come on.
Yeah, but at least you have some dignity as like one of the organizers here. What the fuck?
Oh, that was me. Sorry. Yeah, I'm a humble organizer. Sorry. Yes, I did the thing.
Yes, I'm evil overlord. Anyway.
All right. So before we go out, where else can people find you? Because I have everybody else's links down below. Do you have any other appearances or anything that you want to promote? Well, I can go around the corner as well. I can start with you since you're on screen, Philip.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got this thing called Asian Invasion coming out this weekend.
That's right.
I will be at LA Comic-Con at the top of October. That would be October 4th or the 6th. And then if you're local to San Jose, I will be doing the winter SJ Made in the middle of December I think that's like the 14th, 15th, something like that. And I'm not going to table at Fan Expo, but I might be there with my friend Ian Markoff, who is a friend and someone that I've done covers for. So that's where you'll find me. And then once SJ Made is over, I'm going to hide in my hidey hole and go to sleep. Oh, wait, no, I have work to do. Sorry, I don't get to sleep. Sleep is for suckers.
Yeah, who does that? I don't know. I don't know. And Stephanie, same question.
I'm pretty much a art hermit these days. I don't really get out too much to too many events. So I only have this lined up. I think the next thing on my schedule is not until middle of next year in DC. So that's just me sitting here painting most of the time.
Super happy that
DC.
she do the show because she did stop doing shows, and I'm super happy you're coming out.
Yeah.
I stopped doing shows mainly because I ended up getting sick every time and I just want to make art instead. I just want to sit here and do stuff. So it's not too often that I go out to places any longer these days.
It's just Dublin.
Well, I hope everybody has a great time. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying I'm really looking forward to it, though.
Oh, I'm excited. I really hope it. Did you guys consider this a con, or do you call it more like an event? Would you consider it?
I'm calling it more of an event because it's not really a convention. A convention technically is a place where you go and network, but it's an art show.
You network at that too.
Event. Yeah.
You network at that too. You can network anywhere. What the hell are you talking about?
I'm being pedantic. Do you not know me?
You look constantly aggrieved. That's all I know you fucking do. Well, I mean, that's why people said you should cosplay as Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown,
Just make sure you get the marker to do the knotted brow, you know.
Oh,
Jesus Christ. Anyway, looks like
Charlie Brown, but the Charlie Brown, I felt like there was a part of him that was Asian though. Like when I read I don't know if it was
neuroses.
Yeah, maybe that was just
the neuroses. There you go.
Yeah.
The neuroses being bad at sports. No, wait, we're good at sports. Never mind. Ping pong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the Kalu. They think that you should do Kalu.
Yeah. A couple people have mentioned that. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, Dave, what about you, Dave? What you got coming up?
Well, you know what, Sam? I just finished up my convention season with Rose City this last weekend. So for me, I'm actually going to be drawing a lot. And if you guys are reading my book, which I'll get to my self-promotion. I've been doing a book called California Ink, and we're on to the 4th book now, and that's going to be on Kickstarter. It should be starting it in about a month. And so, like all the other books, you can get them online, and you can even sign up to get notified when the next one starts. But we can definitely always use more people to jump on board. We always have a tier where you can catch up and read the other books, but they've been all doing really well. And so that's definitely what I'm going to be focused on, is getting that book done. And I'm halfway done with it right now. I'm really excited to get it finished.
Sweet.
So. You can pick up all the first 3 at Asian Invasion too. So, but other than that, I will be after Asian Invasion. My next first convention for next year will be probably WonderCon. So that's
fun.
Cool.
Yeah. No, a lot of good people that go to that con. And Christy, you're gonna be at.
Well, let's see. I will be at obviously Asian Invasion this weekend, and next weekend, from 10/4 to 10/6. I will be at LA Comic Con. I will be in South Hall at G as in Gary 37. That's my table number. I'll be putting that up after Asian Invasion. What else? And I will be I will probably take a hiatus. I don't know about NYCC. I have no idea about that. But I will be going to Fan Expo San Francisco. I will be a guest there. So I don't know my table number or assignments yet. And that's what I have right now. That's my last show. And I've got a few shows already lined up for next year, but I'm going to wait until everything's solid and official and everything.
Cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
busy. All right.
Ooh. Oh, nice. I hope you get your are you gonna be doing a booth or are you just gonna be going around helping? Because I have a lot of fun going to cons myself and eventually I'm on a booth. But I'm booth babing for a bunch of people, which has been a lot of fun.
Right.
Good times. All right. So thank you everybody for coming for this round. I know we lost some people due to connection issues as we were talking here, but yeah, I hope you guys have a lovely, lovely event this weekend. I hope a bunch of people show up. I know Kev was in chat earlier. I know he's been to a bunch of your Asian invasions in the past, so I'm assuming he's gonna go there as well and go check him out. We got Mo in the chat. What's up? Yeah, we're heading out of here. Yeah. I have all your Instagram links down below, but I will go and add everyone's YouTubes once we're done out of here as well. So if you have a YouTube, just let me know. I will link you after this so people can go find you guys and go, sub up to you guys. Get you guys
And you can go on my link tree too. By my link tree.
That's right. That's right. Go check all that out. And if you have the pre-launch link for that, David, as well, I will put that down below. So if you already have a pre-launch link, let me know.
All right, cool.
Okay, cool. But yeah, let's get on out of here. And thanks everybody for showing up. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you both. Thank you both very, very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. And I have no outro.